this looks like a Porsche 914, which was, back in the day, Porsche's most humble entry-level model. It was actually quite a cheap car and it just wasn't very fast. Well, this is not that 914. Why? Well, this is a 914 reimagined by 1511 Design, which is a company in the UK. And while it might look like a classic 914 with a few tweaks, this actually has the mechanical bits from a 987 Cayman S. So while the engine is still in the middle, it now has a 3.8 litre flat six, putting 400 brake horsepower to the rear wheels. Now, if you add to that a 6-speed manual gearbox and a curb weight well under a tonne, you get something really quite special and quite a lot of fun. It's quite noisy and I like it a lot. Hang on a minute, let's rewind just a little bit, because this is just another Restomod Porsche, right? Except this time a 914. Except it isn't, because there's very little resto to go with this mod. It is essentially a completely reworked car.
In fact, though this looks like a very pretty 914, the only things that remain from the donor car are essentially the A and B pillars and the floors. All the Cayman parts are new, including the engine and drivetrain, so it's more of an homage than a rebuild.
See all these body panels? Well, they're all carbon fibre, which is why the car is so light, apart from the doors, which are still steel, and that's better for safety, and it retains a nice clunk when you shut the doors. It's also got rally-inspired adjustable coilover suspension and big old Brembo brakes to go with it.
Then there are the Fux wheels with better rubber and a more modern size, complete with flared arches that I reckon are a bit more elegant than some of the 914/6s had. And at the back, a cute little ducktail spoiler, a smoothed out profile and a new back bumper.
You do notice that it's a little bit wider than an original 914, and that's allowed them to put in these LED headlights in that widened section on the arch. Now that means you don't get the flappy pop-up headlights that the old cars had, which saddens me a little bit, but I do think these look pretty good. And then it's got these Moby Dick style driving lights down here and this completely redesigned front bumper and bonnet. Now that's all to do with extra cooling, which the original car didn't have. I just think it's got a nice sense of 914 while being much more intentional. Do you know what? I think you'll spend quite a long time just staring at this car and trying to figure it out. It's a Porsche sketch with a familiar outline. It's just been filled in with unfamiliar colours. But I do think it's respectful of what a 914 was originally. And the other thing I keep thinking about this car is that these days it's absolutely tiny. I mean, I'm towering over this car and I'm only 5'4". But the best bit? Well, I really like this interior. You've got some beautifully trimmed seats and door cards, and you can have them in any kind of material you want, in any colourway you want. It's completely bespoke. And then I just get this feeling that it's commendably Spartan. There's this great big plane of a dash. There is a radio. It's not a heathen's car. And then some bespoke dials, but in a classic style. Very small steering wheel, and best bit, it's got an exposed gear shifter with a little wooden gear knob in a nod to Porsche's 917 racing cars. It feels like a breath of fresh air, like it should be a driver's car. Now this looks like it should be quite snug when you get into it, but I've realised that I can just drop down with the roof off, and it's actually quite big. In fact, I have to adjust my seat forwards to get comfortable, and so that my feet are on the custom pedal box and in the right position. It's also got keep fit windows, and although there aren't a great deal of places to put things and there are no cup holders, to be frank, I don't really care. So this is the first prototype version, even though it is pretty sorted. And it doesn't have ABS or traction control, which makes it a bit of a handful. Now production versions will have those systems, which would make them a little bit easier to handle on a wet Wednesday roundabout. In the dry though, this is blissful. Now a lot of cars with this amount of performance tend to be quite big, so on a narrow country lane, the lard loses them speed, but this is a narrow, small car with loads of grip. And it just feels like it puts down the power with complete kind of
feeling of finesse. You barely spin the wheels even when you're going really fast. I tell you, the first impression of this car is it actually feels a bit like a Series 3 Lotus Elise. You can feel the lack of weight all the time, even driving in a straight line, but even more so when you accelerate, brake and turn into a corner. You don't have to wrestle this car into a corner. It comes in off your fingertips. You just kind of flick it. Really delicate, accurate steering. High def feedback through the seat of your pants and through the wheel. You really know what's going on. And the noise. I mean, custom exhaust for the win. It's not actually the production version because it's a bit drony at low speed. But 1511 are saying that they'll sort that out and it'll have exhaust valves. So this will be a more usable car in the final production version. The thing is, I can't get over how light and small and fast it feels, but it's not scary. This isn't an intimidating car. It's one that's going with you all the time. God knows how fast it is. I've only been driving it a little while, but I'd guess sort of mid threes, 0 to 62 miles an hour. I think we'll have to settle for it's fast. It's very, very fast. I think the biggest compliment I can give it is that this car does not feel like a lash-up. It feels like a manufacturer made it. I just feel the way it goes down a road, the way it rides, the way it steers. It's been set up by people who know what they're doing, and I find that really enjoyable. It steers and stops and goes like a proper car, which is nothing like a 914.
Now, if you're unfamiliar with the 914, that's not completely surprising, because it's probably the least glam of the German maker's models. The Kourtney Kardashian of Porsches. It also wasn't necessarily a Porsche, being marketed and manufactured in a co-production between VW and Porsche from 1969 until 1976. The story goes that Porsche needed a cheaper, entry-level car, and VW wanted something a bit sportier in its lineup, and bingo, out pops a Targa top two-seater mid-engine sports car with either a flat 4 or a flat 6 engine, with the original idea that the 6 would be a Porsche and the 4 would be a VW. That all got a little bit messy, but the reality was that there were 80 brake horsepower 1.7 or 1.8 litre VW4s and 110 brake horsepower 2 litre flat 6s out there, some badged Porsche, some badged VW. Imagine if a Boxster came with a VW badge as an option. Weirdly, the 914 was Formula One's first ever safety car at the 1973 Canadian Grand Prix, but what 914s generally weren't was terribly sophisticated, by design. So who are 1511 Design, and how come this car feels so together? Well, as it turns out, there's a bit of a backstory, so we asked a man who knows.
Right, I need to know a little bit more about where 1511 Design came from. So where has all this happened from?
So we're in Bakewell in Derbyshire.
Good place.
Good place, known for its tarts. We were predominantly a World Rally team, but our passion for automotive design, engineering has born 1511. The name's my daughter's birthday, so 15th of November, and that's how it started really.
So the rally team was the original sort of the automotive bit of this business. And what's that called?
So that's Mellors Elliot Motorsport.
They've been going for quite a long time, haven't they?
Yes, Dad set it up in the 80s, been very successful in the World Championship, Asia Pacific. Yeah, we've got a few FIA titles to our name.
So is this a kind of family business then?
It is a family business, yeah.
Who's involved?
There's Dad and then my brother and myself.
Oh, brilliant. So what's your background? Why have you started 1511 if there's Mellors Elliot in the background?
So I studied car design at university.
Okay.
I love the more classic cars, the historic cars. We do quite a lot with pre-war cars as well. So we have a very broad spectrum of work here.
Is the company still doing rally prep? So there's a lot of engineering going on in this site.
Yes. Yeah. We're doing the rally at the same time as the restoration.
And that's a full spectrum workshop. You're
Yes.
fully prepping. What kind of stuff is that now?
So we design and build a Rally 2 car for Proton
Okay. Yeah,
with
yeah.
the manufacturer team. We design it from scratch. We use the doors, roof, boot and bonnet really. Everything else is designed, fabricated, machined.
So there's a hell of a lot of knowledge in this garage straight away.
There is.
And is this yours?
This is mine, yeah.
And what's this?
So this is a Toyota Celica 1980 historic rally car.
This is my favourite thing in the entire lot.
Wow.
You do realise that? Because I love this. Have you been rallying this?
Yeah, I've rallied it for 10 years.
Oh, and what's it like?
It's great, real good fun. Yeah.
It just looks like the kind of thing I'd want to daily all the time. But anyway, getting back to what we were talking about. So it's not just Restomods and rally teams though, is it? You do a load of different stuff. So over here, these aren't Restomods, are they? These are restorations.
Very original restorations, yeah.
So what have we got here? This is obviously an Aston DB.
This is a DB6 complete concourse restoration.
So concourse, that's the stuff where, you know, all the screws are the same plane and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly as it rolled out the factory.
Real detail minded.
Yes.
And then do you do restorations mixed with modification or?
Yeah, so, yeah, subtle modifications. This is a 68 911.
I mean, that's pretty, isn't it?
Very pretty, yeah. Yeah.
But how do you go from rallying and restoration into a Restomod? What was the first car you did?
So we built a Ford Escort Mark 1.
Is that one over there?
It is, yeah. But you might not recognise it as a Ford Escort.
Ah, that looks very weird. So what's this? Where did this come from?
So it's an Escort Mark 1. We've taken the roof off it, shortened it by a foot.
It doesn't look right. It's so moved about.
No, the rear axle's moved backwards. The seats are effectively where the back seats would be in a standard car.
Yeah.
The engine's moved right back. It's got a 3-litre V6 engine, gives 320 brake horsepower.
It's really odd. Look, it's not right, but I really like it. Was this a project that sort of got you into the resto modding thing?
We built this over lockdown. We needed something to do, so we set about welding, fabricating, building. Playing, yeah, basically, yeah.
And it just became a project that you sort of thought, actually, we're quite good at this.
Yeah, it turned out all right.
What did this inspire that you thought, we'll do something else, we'll try and push it a bit further?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to do something major manufacturer based. We found a 914. I quite like the idea of doing something that wasn't a 911.
Which actually brings us on to the 914.
Yes.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I've got to say, I really like the way this looks, but you've designed all the extra parts, the way this car resolves itself.
Yeah.
Where does this all come from? Like, is this just your brain having a go?
We had a very good idea of what the car wanted to look like before we started.
So what's it supposed to make you feel like then?
So we wanted to take historic Porsche elements, so the rounded arches from 911s, the Moby Dick headlights, the 917 gear knobs, and turn that into the 914 that's probably underloved at the time.
Yeah, very much so.
Wasn't imported to the UK, so there were very few in the UK. And yeah, do something completely different to the 911 that is so popular in the Restomod world.
I mean, I will say, I think this hangs together really nicely. You could have ended up with a real weird, like agglomeration of just Porsche highlights, couldn't you? So how have you made this feel all of a piece?
It took a year on the CAD, spinning it round, looking at every single element individually.
And what were the major things you did with it that you think made the most changes?
So we've widened the front wing and the rear wing to take the modern architecture, but we didn't want such a massive wing like the 916 had in originally. We've taken the width out there and then the arch on top of that, which has made it look more modern in a way.
Yeah, it's not just a stuck-on arch.
No.
Why the hell did you get rid of the flip-up headlights?
Slightly controversial, but for me, I prefer it without it. I think it looks more modern without.
I actually didn't like it when I saw it. I thought, no, it needs pop-up headlights. But actually having a slim headlight,
yeah,
and because it's in the arch turret, I think it really works because it makes it look a little bit different without it being. But it doesn't feel like it's chuck the 914 away.
No, not at all. No, we wanted to keep the look and the feel of it, but bring it up to date.
And then when you've done that, I assume that you're bringing all that motorsport knowledge about suspension, engine, brakes, you know, making a car, setting a car up properly.
Absolutely.
Into this vehicle.
Absolutely.
380, 400 horsepower in a car like this is pretty solid. How much does it weigh?
975 with fuel.
What are the big challenges when you've got a car that hasn't had this kind of power or setup before? What do you have to do to it to make it work?
So the chassis needed strengthening in quite a few places. They were inherently very weak, especially without the roof on. So there's quite a lot of chassis strengthening gone into this. We've got a tunnel, we've got a cage, turrets for the suspension.
Yeah.
So we've taken all our DNA and our history from the motorsport side, put it into this, and yeah, I'm really happy with how it is.
Because you drive it all the time, don't you?
I do drive it all the time, yeah. You
You
won't
did
get
say
me
that
out of that seat very often.
You can't stop driving it.
I can't.
I think that's a really good sort of indicator of whether the car's any good.
Yeah.
But this isn't just a one-off, is it?
No.
You're
No.
looking to make a few more of these. So how many are you going to make?
So we're looking to build up to 50 units.
Okay, and how much roughly are they going to cost?
From 350,000 plus donor car, plus
Okay.
taxes and shipping.
All the rest of the bits and bobs. Now, if that sounds like a lot of money, you can have this bespoke to the max,
Completely
can't you?
bespoke.
You can have it any which way you want it. And why is it worth that? Is it because you're bringing all of that motorsport knowledge and heritage and putting it together in one car, and because it's built the way it's built?
Yes, yeah, I believe so. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of our knowledge that has gone into it. To put a car together to this standard, it takes a lot of thought, time, and it's a big process.
Will you be making them quickly, or how many a year do you think you'll get out?
We're hoping probably 5 a year,
So
initially.
it'll be a fairly rare product, to say the least.
Yeah.
Have you got any other projects on the go?
Yeah, we've got a pretty special project we're working on at the moment.
You can tell me, Ben. Come on, what is it?
Tommy Mackinnon Evo 6.
What, a Restomod?
Yes.
Tommy Mackinnon Evo
Yes.
6. So what will that have in it?
So it'll be almost a World Rally car underneath, but for the road.
So that was going to cost £1 billion, I assume.
Not that much.
But it'll be good. Listen, I'm really nice to talk to you, but I feel like I just need to go for one last drive in the car. Is that all right?
Of course it is, yeah. Help yourself.
Thanks, mate.
The more I've driven this car, the more I've fallen in love with it. I mean, I like a Restomod, but this feels like a car that's been made by an engineering motorsport company doing a Restomod. So there's little things that I would change. I'd change the exhaust, I'd make the brake pedal perhaps a little bit softer, I'd change some of the damping, all stuff that can be changed quite easily. But this is engineering working on the detail rather than someone designing a nice car and then trying to be an engineer. The very core of this car is all fantastically sorted, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, a lot of people get their knickers in a twist about Restomods, about how much they cost. And I kind of get that if you throw endless money at something, it generally will end up being quite nice. But this car feels crafted and interesting and engineered. And for that reason, I love it. It's a bit of a Frankenstein's monster of Porsche parts and design influences, but it's a beautiful one.